So, I am Coco.
I'm Marika.
And this is a podcast about like knitting and making and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, maybe no one ever watches this. Maybe it's just a historical record. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we were inspired to do this because we make a lot of stuff and we don't necessarily take the time to look back on what we've made or, think about what we're going to make. And so it was a nice way to document and spend the time to appreciate the time we've spent on a lot of these things.
Yeah, and also just chit-chat and kiki about it outside of work where everyone's, I'm sure, tired of hearing about it.
Yeah.
So we work together and we chit-chat about it all the time, but this is a more regimented forum for it.
And we decided to accompany it with a delicious cocktail that we made on the fly today.
Yeah. Gin,
blood orange juice, and a raspberry hard sparkling water.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I wanted to start by talking about how we both got into knitting.
Okay.
If I drink it all at once, will it make this easier?
I don't know.
Cheers.
Cheers. So I started knitting, probably in my early teens. My mom kind of taught me the basics. She's a needle pointer, so she was never a well-versed knitter. She can knit and crochet. So she just taught me the basics, and then I would just kind of do blankets or scarves or projects here and there, but it wasn't until probably last November that I really got back into knitting and started doing patterns and making full garments. So I finished my first sweater in March, and then the process of picking out all the yarns for that, and it was the first project I had done with color blocking, and
it's fabulous.
It's fun, and that kind of got me inspired and motivated, and the momentum going to kind of explore it further. And now I'm really interested in continuing to make garments and also kind of learning how to build my own patterns and my own garments and adapting existing patterns.
Yeah, that's something that I really admire about you, that you're so gung-ho about I can change this pattern, I can do anything I want to it, whereas I am a little bit more fearful of everything that could go wrong, so I don't really alter them, but you're always no, anything can be changed and anything can be figured out, so that's great.
Oh, thanks. Well, I you say you're scared, but you persevere, which I think is a really good quality. You're I don't know if I did this right, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to finish it, and it's going to be great.
It's a steam train. It's just going. It's on the tracks. It's going to hit the end.
Yeah.
No matter what failures have happened, in the past. So, I started knitting in college. Just, bad scarves, your standard stuff. And I learned to knit from YouTube, and I don't think that it wasn't really a long journey. I feel I kind of knit for a while and then fell off of it because I moved and all of this kind of stuff. But then once I started knitting again, it's been a pretty even progression to get more and more into knitting. But I felt for a while I was on this island of projects that were going nowhere. I wanted to make garments, but I picked this, I don't know, one of the most mundane projects to ever knit to start with, and I just died on it. I think I was knitting it for 3 years, and you've never seen it because I ripped it out immediately, and I was this is just terrible. So I'm going to show you some of my more successful early projects, but the one I'm wearing is the first one that was okay, I'm going to do this garment, and I made it all the way through, and it was successful. But so it's not a very interesting knitting story. I just kind of started it when I was in college, and then kind of kept going, making scarves and hats and stuff like that I would, give to the people that unfortunately are forced to live with my knitting. But, I'm really into it. I love knitting. It's my favorite thing. So that's my story. But I'll show you some of the early knits. The early knits back in the day. So this was one of my first knits. It is a
Ooh.
super chunky mountain hat is what I call it because it looks like a big old mountain. But it's like it's that Lion brand chunky, but it's held double, so it's even chunkier.
Damn.
What
size needle did you have to use for that?
It's like I think it was a 9 or a 10.
Oh, okay.
Exceedingly warm.
Mm-hmm.
Getting very warm right now.
Yeah.
But it's a Purl Soho, and it's got a cute twist to the top, which is how it gets that cone shape. But the Purl Soho, I find the patterns to be simple, classic, elegant, but also just sometimes the one I died on was a Purl Soho, and I just couldn't. There was nothing interesting, not interesting, but like it was very clean, so it was just a slog the whole way. And I feel like it's my white whale. It's that tulip tank, and every time I get a new yarn that I think, oh, this would be a good yarn for a tank top, I always go, oh, I can make that tulip tank, and then I have like flashes to months and months of knitting this thing that never came to be, and I don't know if it's something I should attempt to conquer and like just do it, or if it's something I should give up on. But it's a constant battle. Anyway, so this is one of my early knits. Super chunky was the way to go though, because it was quick and I got through it.
It's hard to get discouraged
Yeah.
with a yarn that big.
Yeah. So that's where I started. But let's talk about the one you started on because it's epic.
So we went to Stitches in Pasadena last November, which was kind of like my first big knitting event and like introduction to a lot of independent dyers as well. I feel like when I was knitting and starting out, like both knitting and crocheting, it was just kind of like, what's at Joann's?
Yeah.
And the idea of like, oh my god, this yarn at Joann's is $6, that's so expensive. And then flash to Stitches where I'm like, oh, this thing is $18. That's the cheapest thing I'm going to find here today. But also really enjoying and talking to all the independent dyers, and also just, being exposed to all those different weights of yarn and colors and techniques. And
it was an issue of quality too, right? Because I think you've said before that you're trying to move towards like natural fibers in your wardrobe.
Yeah.
So that's a bit easier to find than at Joann's.
Yeah, where most things are like acrylic or have a high acrylic component.
Yeah.
So I Coco was knitting this sweater at the time, the Sipila.
Yeah.
Yeah, by Caitlin Hunter.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she said you should check out the rest of Caitlin Hunter's patterns. So I looked on Ravelry and then found the Ramblin woman that she had just released and kind of was like, that's what I'm going to do. So I went to Stitches with the goal in mind of buying the 8 colors I needed to build the sweater.
Which is great because it's super focused.
Yeah. And then this is where I wound up with the Ramblin woman. I don't know if we can see the whole thing there. Yeah. So, almost all DK, this cream part here and the kind of like peachy pink part are both, I think, double held fingering weight. But yeah, I just kind of...
So, everywhere you go, everybody freaks out about this one.
So yeah, it was fun, and it is fun to wear it out, and
So what inspired the color scheme? Was it just I was there on the day, but were you just like, I want everything that speaks to me, and this is your natural color palette, or did you make a concerted effort that you were like, I want something spring or I want something summery? Like, what made you decide on these specific lovely peachy kind of colors? And how did you build this? Because there's so many colors in this that I would be terribly intimidated to like pick this all up and be like, I'm sorry, I'm going to put it on.
Yeah, do it.
I
Yeah,
never
you
get to
haven't
wear it.
worn it yet.
But how did you get to decide, like, what was your base? Where'd you start?
I think I actually started with this kind of like rust color. I think it's called Pecan. The dyer calls it Pecan. And then this teal. Yeah. And so from those two, I kind of built the rest of the sweater off of that. Right. And it was just kind of like walking around the convention center with these two skeins in my hand being like, what else goes with these?
Yeah, which I'm not sure that you can see, but we're going to try. Like, this peach color has got that kind of teal in it. Mm-hmm. And then it also has the darker blue. And then it's got the pinks. So I can't remember if you found this one.
That was actually the last one I found, was this main color.
It ties it together so well, though.
And I think that's what sold it, is I had, all these other colors in my bag and was like, all right, holding them up to all these different types of yarns. And it was like this. Yeah, it's really hot. And this one, that one yarn just seemed to kind of pick up everything. Jump cut. The camera has a timer we were unaware of. So going back to the Caitlin Hunter pattern, with her example that she knit for the sweater, I wanted something that would contrast a lot more with this fleur-de-lis and this filigree here.
Because you wanted those elements to pop out more?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, so that's why I kind of went with a lighter color there.
Well, how was the pattern? This looks intimidating to me. But I felt watching you knit it didn't seem like you were having to rip back a lot or,
Yeah, I think the only time I had to rip back is because I didn't keep track of where I was in the chart. And so I accidentally knit the same row twice, and then I was like, oh crap, I had to rip it back. But it was actually a really easy pattern to follow. It was a lot of firsts for me, so it was the first time I had done color work. It was the first time I had done a steeked sweater.
Oh my gosh, so also, yes. What was that process like of cutting this thing up the center?
It was
terrifying.
Yeah,
right?
I watched so many tutorials, and it had been finished for probably about a month before I crocheted and cut the steek, just because I was so scared I was going to destroy it.
Yes, after all this work.
Yeah.
I know I wasn't very fair to you. I was like, just do it! But I understand, being scared. And then you picked up and had to crochet this edge, right? Or did you do that before?
No, you cut the steek first, and then you pick up and do a little rib.
So this is the first sweater you've completed all the way to blocked and wearing, and this crazy amount of color work, and you steeked it, and you picked all these colors. It's just crazy, this level of ambition on this is how I'm going out the gate.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel that's your total approach to everything. I'm going out the gate, I'm going hard, I'm going full throttle.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, that this is your first sweater. So, anyways, good job.
I mean, I feel like I might have overcorrected in the opposite direction, and that every sweater I'm now knitting is fairly, it's one color, or, it's not as involved as this.
Well, I mean, it's a balance.
Yeah.
But do you feel like it's a direct reaction to the experience of this, or do you feel like it's something you feel you want to do?
I don't know. I think it was more of, getting a feel for... the sweaters I'm in now, getting a feel for how different patterns are built. So this was a top down. Now the majority of sweaters I'm in now are bottom up.
Yeah.
And then also getting a feel for different shaping. You know, I'm doing some crop sweaters, some long sweaters, V-neck sweaters, high neck sweaters, and so just kind of getting a feel for how these different garments are constructed and how the different patterns approach that construction.
Which is a good way to talk about the difference between our knittings, because I feel we have completely different philosophies on knitting, not on technique, but I feel I have a lot of struggles deciding what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna do it. I rip things out all the time. But I go through and I finish the piece, and I'm pretty monogamous. And although you're very clear, these are the 9, how many colors are in this?
I think 8.
8 colors. Undaunted. I'm gonna pick them out. I'm gonna do it. But then you've got like, what, 8 or 10 projects going at the same time?
Yeah, I think right now I only have 4 on the needles right now.
Okay.
But I'm in the process of like swatching and like sourcing for like 3 or 4 others.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. So part of this podcast is just so I can keep up on like, what are you doing? Because you're doing so much. Whereas there won't be that much from me. Mm-hmm. It'll just be like one thing at a time.
Well, but I feel like you also have, as a result, you have a lot more to show for it. So like you're really good about finishing projects, whereas I'll leave stuff on for a really long time. So like this is technically the only completed project I have.
It's true, it's true.
Whereas you have socks, you have hats, you have sweaters, like you have, tons of stuff.
Yeah. So, it's a good way to keep us both accountable to like showing and doing and finishing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, this is my first finished garment. It's the Sipila. We kind of talked about it from Caitlin Hunter. And we keep talking about how I rip things out, and that's because this started reversed, where I was doing the black as the body, and then the color work, or the detail of the yoke was in this pink. And this is, it's all Madeline Tosh. It's Black Panther is the black, and then high-low is the body. And I'm not sure, I don't think she sells this color anymore, but it's very bubblegum pink. So at first, I was afraid of how pink it was, so I thought, I'll just put it in the yoke. That way it's not too much. But then, once I started to do it, I got all the way down to like almost where I was going to separate for the sleeves, and decided that I didn't want to have a black sweater because it's a short sleeve sweater, so you're probably only going to be able to wear it, in the spring and the summer. And a black sweater in the summer, I just didn't like the idea of it. And you do have the option to do it long sleeve, and I thought I was going to do 3/4, but by the time I ripped it all out and then started to redo it, I just wanted it kind of done. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of a crop, and that too was, I finished it kind of short, and then I had to block it really hard to just get that extra 1/2 inch, and if I had more patience, I would have done another 1 inch to 1/2 inch on this sweater, because it's just like on the edge of being too short. But that's the other thing, I get impatient, and I just kind of like want things done, so I end up finishing them purely just to be like, I'm done with this, I don't want to do it anymore, because I'm only doing like one at a time, so I get a little bit frustrated. I'm gonna hand this back to you.
Yeah,
it's like warm. A heavy wool blanket, and it's kind of warm in here right now.
Yeah, we had to close all the windows. I don't have air conditioning, and I don't think we said this before, but we're in Los Angeles, so even though it's overcast and cool today,
it's still a little warm.
Yeah,
it's a little warm in here.
Which also, it's hard to be a knitter, I think, in LA.
Yeah.
Like, just because it's like a lot of the projects that I really love, it's like, when am I going to wear that? I have like maybe a week in February.
Yeah.
That it'll be comfortable to wear that all day.
Yeah. Or you have like a couple good hours of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like real early in the morning, you can put that sweater on, and then by 11, it's time to take it off. So, right now, I'm kind of obsessed with everybody's summer knits, because I'm like, oh, now's the time I can figure out like what I'm going to make for the whole year, basically, because the really heavy winter knits just don't work for this climate. But that's why it was nice that this one had the option to be short sleeves. Mm-hmm. I guess we can get on to like, what are you knitting now? What is happening?
Well, so I have like the 4 projects I have going at the moment. I've got the RBG sweater.
4 projects, yes, which I'm also knitting.
Yeah, and we decided to do that together. I'm on Sleeve Island with that one at the moment, so I'm knitting both sleeves at the same time, which is taking way longer than I thought it would, but at least then when I'm done, I'm done.
Which is, I went about it a completely different way. I decided to knit the body, and then I knit one sleeve, and then I attached it to the body and got all the way to where the other sleeve is gonna be, and now I'm knitting the other sleeve because I needed to feel that forward progress. Like I needed to see something coming together before proceeding. Also, we're knitting that one out of alpaca, which
oh yeah, you discovered something fun.
Yeah. So Marika has a slight wool sensitivity. So she was like, "Oh great, this is gonna be alpaca. It'll be great for me." And I was like, "Cool. I'll just get in the same thing." And I am just like so itchy and just flared up from this alpaca. And I didn't think I had an allergy. So then we were researching online, and apparently it has something to do with the coarseness of the fiber quality. And if it is a super fine or is too coarse, oddly enough, but like a baby alpaca, I'm fine with. So there's a very specific, like it has to be under 22.5 microns, which is, but oddly, I mean, they all say what they are, or there's a classification for each one. So now I'm aware, like I need to be more selective about the alpaca I chose or choose in the future, but that was kind of a shocker. I didn't think it was going to be a problem. I was like, oh, if you don't have a wool allergy, then you're going to be fine. And then come to find out, no, I'm like, so my face itches, my hands itch, everything itches. And I'm just a little bit hopeful that when we block, wash and block and do the whole thing, that it'll kind of, not be as much of an issue, or I'm going to finish this entire sweater and not be able to wear it. And I don't know what I'm going to do about that.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
yeah,
it's kind of problematic.
Yeah, so we're both working through different struggles on the RBG right now.
Yeah.
And then I've got the My Valentine sweater.
Yes. Where is it? Let me see it. Where is it?
Hold on, I gotta go get it.
Yes. And to finish that RBG conversation, so this is where I am on the RBG. It's hard to see, and there's all this stuff. But this is the body. It's a crop. Maybe we'll show the pattern. But this is a crop, and then this is one of the sleeves. It's a big, like a balloon sleeve. So you start off really tight on like a 2, size 2, and then you come up to a 9 to get that really exaggerated kind of bulge to the sleeve. And then I decided I had to put these two together. I just could not do it. And then now I'm knitting up the other arm. So just, I think, 10 more inches on that, and then I'll be able to attach, and then we'll go up the yoke, which is the fun part. I'm looking forward to the color work.
That's where the color work is, yeah. Yeah, so I've got RBG as well. I've got like 4 inches left, I think, on both sleeves before I can then attach and keep going.
How do you find doing the magic loop to knit the arms? Like, how long is your cord?
I think I used like my 36 one. So it's not super long.
Right.
It's just enough to be able to make the turn, to pull, to have like a, maybe like a 1/2 inch to an inch loop.
Yeah.
On the other side.
Because I knit a pair of socks for my husband in magic loop 2 at a time, and I wanted to die. It was just like, just doing the part from the heel to the toe. It took so long. I was mad at him, like, why are your feet this long? It was so bad. But that's why when I came to do these sleeves, I knew you were doing them 2 at a time, and then I thought about how that sock experience was, and I was like, I don't think I can do it. And I didn't have two of the right size circulars to do it. So then I was like, well, I got to get these off the needles, and so I can do the other one. So that's why I attached them. But you're okay with it. It's going okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, I haven't touched it in a while, just because it was getting like I'm surprised at how slow it is.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'll knit on it for hours, and then it'll be like, okay, you got like an inch.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like if I was doing that on just a regular sweater or a single sleeve, I would have like 3 or 4 inches by then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But
what I keep
they're
telling
both done,
myself is like when they're done, they're done. I don't have to do another sleeve.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah. Okay, so you got up to get your Valentine, and now.
Yeah, so this is where it's nothing exciting right now. This is where the Valentine is at.
Ooh, I haven't felt it yet.
This is Woolfolk Far.
Yes.
I think the color's number 27. And it is
your signature color.
So soft. I love a mustard. Yeah, as you can tell by my couch right here.
Right.
They're kind of complementary. And this one, the detailing, it's a fairly simple bottom-up sweater, but the detailing is really in the neck. It has like a nice kind of like V-neck, and you can do either a single detail of open squares or a double, depending on how wide you want the neck to be. So this one has just been kind of like one I buy, a skein at a time because it's not a cheap yarn.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of a lot of my strategy with projects too, is like, what do I have, like stash busting stuff, and also like trying to be as frugal as possible, because a lot of these really nice yarns are not, cheap.
Yeah.
So
you're trying to like spread out the pain, basically. Yeah.
But, with the idea in mind that I am working towards like a more natural fiber wardrobe, and that these are pieces that hopefully I've made well and will last a long time.
Right.
So it's a good investment.
Yeah. So this one, what you're going to do is you knit all the way up the body, and does it become like a little vest and then you attach the sleeves, or how's the construction on this one?
I haven't looked at the pattern in a while. I think it might have. I don't remember, honestly.
All right. Well, we'll have to look at it.
Yeah, I'll revisit and see, because I was out of yarn for this one for a while, so I haven't picked it up in probably a month or two. But I just got some more yarn, so now I have to get back into it.
Yeah. All right.
And then you've got some fun.
So, I was knitting a sock, and now I'm realizing the benefit of a sock blocker, because it's it hasn't been, blocked or worn or anything like that, so it's a little crumpled. But it is the coffee top pattern from Tracy of the Grocery Girls. And it is super fun because it's got all of this like detail on the front end. That's this it's a really fun pattern, but this is also the pattern that I was knitting for my husband, and I was knitting it 2 at a time, and I just was over it. So I had knit one of these, and then I decided, this will be a good pattern for him, and I knit his 2, and now I have to go back and finish this. So I'm putting this on this because maybe it'll motivate me to get back to it. But I kind of overloaded on this one, and now it's hard to get back into it. But one of my favorite things about it, and I don't know if you can see it because it's such a hot kind of green color, but here at the top, you're fading in this toe color, and it makes a really pretty stripe. And I think we were discussing this kind of technique for something else that Marika was trying to figure out how to do a fade on. But if you've never knit a sock before, this is the heel flap and gusset method, and she's done this trick of adding these slip stitches to add detail, and it's just so pretty. I really love it, and it's a pretty easy pattern. And I think, Marika, you haven't knit a sock before, but it's pretty easy. There's a lot of knitting in a sock, though. By the time you're done with a sock, you're like, I feel like I could have knit a sweater. But these 2 colors, they're knit picks. It's this kind of like confetti color, and this was clearly wound by hand before I had a Swift, so it's just a hot mess of a ball that I refuse to fix for some reason. And then it's got this pickle juice color, which is a crazy neon that is possibly going to blow out this camera. But this is a great, and I think Knit Picks is discontinuing it, but this is a great nylon mix, and it's super soft and kind of plushy.
Oh yeah, that is really nice.
Anyways, I've got a pair of boots that desperately need to be not worn anymore or resold, and I'm refusing to do that, and instead I'm knitting really thick socks instead, trying to try to give it a little bit more life. Yeah. So I'm a little hopeful that the accountability of this podcast will make me knit that second sock, so that I have something to keep those boots alive for one more winter.
Yeah. And then continuing on the parade of current projects, I'm making the balloon cardigan from the PetiteKnit. We'll fix that marker later.
Wherever that went.
So what was appealing about this is, again, I think part of the approach to the projects I'm on now in response to the Ramblin woman was there's a lot of finishing work involved. So like once you're done knitting, it's like 8 colors, so many ends to weave in, then the steek, then the band, it was just like once you're done with all the fun knitting, there's just so much work to actually make it a garment that you can wear. And so I feel like a lot of the stuff now I'm knitting is in retaliation to that, and that it's like you just go, when you're done, you might have a few ends to weave, but then everything's finished. Yeah. There's not a lot of crazy detail work to do afterwards.
So we're talking solid colors.
Yeah, solid colors, patterns that, like the balloon cardigan is like, it's all, you're knitting the sleeves and the body at the same time, you cast on from the back of the collar. It's hard to see where I'm at with this right now. I'm basically...
But this is the center back, yeah?
Yeah, this is the center back. And then, these are the raglan to get the sleeves, and the front panel. Oh, yeah. But with this one...
part is the raglan.
When you're done, you're done.
And this is out of an alpaca again?
It's an alpaca cotton blend, so I also wanted something, that I could wear a little more year-round in LA. So I was hoping that, the alpaca cotton would be a lighter one that I could get a lot of wear out of. And it's like an alternative
to mohair, basically.
It's got some fuzz on it. We'll see how that wears.
Great.
And yeah, I'm basically almost to the point where I'm done with the raglan increases, and then we'll separate the arms off, and then I have to start doing this pattern has 4 buttons, so I need to find and choose buttons so that I know how big to make the button holes.
Oh, button choices.
Yeah, and so, since it is it's a single color, and I consider it a neutral.
Mustard again, that mustard neutral. That's a little bit more orange, I guess.
Kind of like a camel.
Yeah, a little camel.
Yeah. But I wanted the buttons to have a little more impact, so just trying to find a good statement button to use on it.
Yeah.
Because I do enjoy a lot of bold patterns and contrasting colors in a lot of the clothes I wear in general.
That's true.
Jump cut 4.
We're gonna figure out this whole camera situation and why it has a timer. So, okay, this is what I was gonna talk about. This is supposed to be a little bralette.
It also matches our cocktail for today.
It also matches the cocktails. Nice. I love this color. It's called Magical Beast. It's from Tosh. It's this kind of corally, variegated coral with some black specks in it, and clearly, I just dig the black specks. But so I didn't swatch for it, which is a cardinal sin, and I thought I've got this kind of huge jumper, balloonish jumper thing, and I thought it could be cute underneath that. It's kind of like a cotton overall situation, and it's huge. It's way too big. There's not a lot that I can do to save it, I feel like. Some people suggest put it in the dryer, and I'm just not sure what that's gonna mean. Also, I didn't knit it long enough. There's just too many concerns with how it came up. I should have knitted it probably a couple inches longer and smaller. And it's the gauge is a little loose, so it's a little risque. There's a little bit of a peep show going on with it. So it's just all not great.
And what I was wondering is, like, is there a way to, you know, like you would take in a normal, like, shirt.
Kind of seam it on the sides?
Yeah, just take it in a little bit or put a dart in the back or, you know, something so that you don't have to just
tear it
cast it aside.
Yeah. It doesn't really help the risque quality. I mean, it could be, like you were also suggesting, what if you sew some cups into it? It just becomes a lot of work to salvage it. And I'd rather just try to rip it back and maybe use the yarn for something else. There are a couple other patterns that are... there's one that's like a Daenerys tank or something, like the Dany tank.
I did
you
just
saw
see that
one?
today, and I was like, okay, gotta add that to the queue.
Exactly. So I really liked the kind of the lines of that one, and I thought it could be a little cool to maybe take this color and fade it in, like if I have a cream, so if I did like a cream and faded it into this orange down at the bottom, I thought maybe that could be something I do with this yarn. But I don't love this. I didn't love the pattern enough to kind of try to make it work and save the concept, so I'm gonna just rip it out.
All right.
So we'll probably be seeing this one again in the future.
Yeah. What else you got? Okay, so the last thing I'm working on that I have to finish soon is a Pride sweater. So I saw a sweater from Knit Diaries.
Yes.
That she had made for, I don't know the details because I just look at the pictures. I don't really read anything.
Whereas I watch all of the things, I read all of the things, but I didn't see this one, so I can't help you on that one.
So it looked like she made a sweater for a little girl. I'm not sure how they're related, but it was a blue sweater with a rainbow and clouds on the front, and then on the back she had this like awesome fringe, like rainbow fringe.
Yeah.
And
if we can find the photo, we'll add it.
Yeah.
Here.
We'll post it.
Okay.
And I just became obsessed with fringe.
Yeah, as any normal red-blooded American woman would.
Yeah. And so it's now June 1st? Yeah. So it's officially Pride Month here in LA. Okay, so it's June, Pride Month. The big Pride Parade in LA is happening next Sunday.
Ooh, that's soon.
Yeah, so I gotta get cracking on it. So
your swatches over there.
Yeah. So I improvised this pattern. We'll see how it comes out. I just looked online for some simple sweaters. And the one I ended up using is called this cropped boat neck sweater pattern.
Oh, I wanted to knit this anyways. This is on my list of ones to knit, so you'll have to let me know how this one goes.
Yeah, and it seemed pretty good in that it was like, okay, like
maybe that came out.
The gauge is fairly flexible. It's pretty fast because it's a cropped sweater again.
I love a cropped sweater.
And I liked the idea of like it's made, you know, a front panel, a back panel, and then sleeves. So if I mess anything up, if I don't get the gauge right, I have a little bit of leeway when I stitch stuff together to take things in or maybe add something or, you know, so it seemed like I don't have to do a lot of exact math, and I can knit it fairly quickly. So I've done the first panel for the front, and then the second panel is in process right now. So the idea is it's an all white sweater, and then across the back I'm gonna have this long rainbow fringe curtain. Yeah. And so this was my gauge swatch, and then also I wanted to check the rainbow fringe. So
so in theory you'll be like this, right? It'll be
this way.
Oh.
So it'll run just below the ribbing. All across the back and down the sleeves, the back of the sleeves.
So I was concerned for you that it would be very warm to be wearing a sweater.
Right. So
what have you got here?
This is, I also wanted to do it on the cheap because I've like kind of blown my yarn budget for the foreseeable future. So I was like, what can I do that isn't going to cost a fortune? So I went to Joann's and found this yarn.
It's like a cotton.
I think it's a cotton blend. There's a little bit of I think nylon in it as well.
Yeah.
And then for the fringe, I was like, since it's not going to be against my skin, I just kind of like whatever rainbow colors they had. So I was hoping to find all the same yarn to use in the rainbow, but that was actually surprisingly difficult
To find this many colors.
to find all the colors of the rainbow in a single type of yarn. So I was able to find this what is it called, like Karen or something like that, Caron. They're all on my table back there.
I think I have this stuff for some blankets as well.
Yeah, if you want to grab the white one, I can then let you know what
ZZ Twist, that's a fun name.
Yeah. So this is, the white is the ZZ Twist by Lion Brand Yarns, and it is, there's no cotton, it's 100% acrylic.
All right, let's do it. And then these things have a little bit of shine to them.
Yeah, so the majority of the ones I got were the red, the green, the blue, and the purple. I don't know if you can see it here, but they have this like metallic tinsel element that's woven into the yarn, which I thought would be fun.
Yeah. And
then the orange and the yellow were just what I could find in those colors that worked with the rest.
Yeah.
So that's the deadline project I'm on right now that I have to finish by next Sunday.
So this is the front panel, right? Front panel or back panel?
Either one. The front and back panel are identical.
And then, so this is done. You just have to do the back, and then you have to do the sleeves. And then you have to put it all together.
Yeah, and the sleeves, I think I'll probably just go to like right below the elbow. Like I'm not going to do a full sleeve.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You can do it.
I think I can do it.
Yeah, you do.
We'll see.
That's it. That's all I got. We're finally done.
Yeah.
We thought that we weren't going to be able to fill the time.
Yeah.
And this has turned into, 16 edits.
An hour of footage,
a clothing change, and a fully drunk drink, and I could use a second.
Yeah.
So,
so I guess, this episode we just kind of did our current knits, like finished projects, how we got into knitting. Next time I think we're going to talk about
knitting.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should try that again.
Yeah, we'll just try. We'll just talk about knitting again. That's it.
We don't have a catchphrase.
No,
yet.
we don't.
Or a sign off of any kind.
No.
Or a name for this.
Or a
Figure it all out. We're just gonna keep moving forward.
Yeah, we'll do it my style.
Yeah.
We'll just keep going. It'll be great.